of me as the elevator guy still. Actually, I am also a recruiter, along with my sergeant, who's outside, but he's busy right now, and a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer. So I'm just gonna speak on that, and if you have any questions, feel free. I'm gonna do a quick exercise so you guys understand what I do, and then we'll move on from there, okay? So, as a recruiter, I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. My job is pretty much to try to go to certain events, career fairs, community organizations, schools, like colleges, high schools, middle schools, just to be out and about and try to encourage people to apply to become police officers. I think I went to your college, Worcester State. That's how I met you, and she was in a very good class, and she went to a criminal justice class, so it was very easy to try to get everybody engaged and also let them know how to become a police officer, what's included in becoming a police officer, what it's like, and the students are very good at asking me questions as well. This is my Sergeant Miranda.
Hi everybody, Sergeant Miranda. I was in the hallway chatting. I didn't realize my partner over here was already in full swing over there. Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt.
The second part of our job is the DEI. That stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the diversity part is pretty much what this room is here right now. Is everybody's different. There's different genders, there's different races, religions, all of that makes us different, but we are coming at the same time together for the common goal of learning something new. So I think it's very important that we try to promote that same energy into the police department as well, because without that, people or groups that are underrepresented continue to be so. So it's very important that people with different backgrounds and come to join the police department to give us a window or an idea as to what they're used to doing. So then other people understand, like, hey, this is not something that's weird. I shouldn't be afraid of it. It's normal. The equity portion is the part that gets a little weird. I know when it comes to equity, people think it means equal, when it kind of does, but it doesn't. When it comes to equity, it's more about being fair. So if there's a situation where I got 3 people, but they all have different needs, I need to find a way to make sure that everybody has an equal, a fair chance. See, I already messed up myself. Has a fair chance at becoming a police officer or being anything that's involved in the police station. I know you guys, throughout this whole civilian police academy, have realized that we have so many different other units, and some units are looked after a little bit more than others. Like a lot of people usually when they come here, they like to either join the SWAT team or the detectives. And we can't have just the buddy-buddy system where, oh, I know you, so you know what, I'll hook you up and you could just be a detective with me. Those days are over. We try to make sure that if they're going to have a selection process, that they make sure that they look at things like reports, how they call out sick, how they carry out arrest, if they're successful in court, things like that, that they really, or even trainings, past trainings, things like that that really make them shine, to be like, okay, I see this person that's put in some work, let's make sure that they get, rewarded with a unit that they desire, that they worked hard for. So for the equity portion, I just want 3 volunteers. I know I asked you guys earlier, so whoever raised their hand can come down, just sit in these 3 chairs and pick up the paper, don't look at it. Okay, so this one is corny, but I'm not a very good teacher, so just bear with me, all right? I'm assuming all 3 of you guys like ice cream, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. So the equal thing to do would be to give each one scoop of ice cream, right? Each one gets 1 scoop. I'm gonna pretend one scoop for you, 1 scoop for you, 1 scoop for you. All right, you all happy, right? Turn your papers over. I gave them papers just to read out, to say what they are. Yeah, read it out.
You have not eaten in several days.
So this person, she hasn't eaten in several days.
You are lactose intolerant.
This person is lactose intolerant. Go
I
ahead.
had ice cream yesterday.
This person had ice cream yesterday. So if I came and gave each of them 1 scoop, yes, that's equal. But is that fair with what they listed out? I need you guys to help me out here.
No.
It's not fair, right? So the person who had ice cream yesterday or owns an ice cream shop, whatever, is it fair to say that, hey, maybe I shouldn't give him ice cream today, or maybe I could cut it in half, or maybe I could push him over to the side for now because he's okay? Is that all right with you guys, or do you think he should still get that full scoop?
No,
You don't think he should get that full scoop?
unless you got enough.
Okay. And then what about the person who's lactose intolerant?
He needs an alternative.
Right? Thank you. So I now have to think outside the box and be like, okay, so I don't want to upset his stomach with a scoop of ice cream, all right? But he still likes sweets. So I'm going to try to work with him and talk with him and engage and say, hey, how can I help you? Because I know you like sweets, but I know you don't like anything with milk. What do you like? And he can say, oh, I really love strawberries. I can do that. Here's your strawberries. Now he gets his reward, he gets what he wants, and he's boosted up a little bit. This person here, remind them who you are.
You have not eaten in several days.
So she hasn't eaten in several days. Do you think one scoop is enough?
I'll give it mine.
And that would be okay, right? That would be fair, correct? Fair to say? So I could give her a little bit extra because she hasn't eaten in several days. So this could be the meal of her life, So I think it's very important that even though this is a silly exercise, it opens a window into what I try to do when it comes to certain people. So if a person needs help in something, I like to work with them one-to-one and engage them and see, okay, this person may need a little bit extra help. Or like what civil service was really good about this year was, okay, we are trying to increase diversity in the department. Some people are not very fluent in English, so let's have a whole new exam in Spanish. That's a way of thinking outside the box, so we can still get police officers or still get candidates and make it fair for everybody, okay? Thank you guys. You're all safe.
All right,
What about the ice cream?
Yeah. The ice
False
cream.
advertising, I'm sorry. And then the last part is the inclusion. And that's also very important. We have to make sure that, like I said, we have a very diverse department and make sure that everybody's included in it as well. Because when you do feel like you're part of the family, I feel like you work a little bit harder. You feel like you're with the guys, so to say.
First of all, thank you for being here. I'm Lieutenant Albano. I've been a police officer for 18 years. I was a sergeant for 5 and a half, and have been a lieutenant for the last 2. Been with the tactical patrol team for about 16 years. Served as a sergeant for 5 and then currently a lieutenant. This is Sergeant Justin Bennis. He's our sergeant. He's in charge of the less lethal team that we have. So again, I just have this slide up because Manny was a member of the tactical patrol team. We honor him before we start any presentation. Again, I'm going to discuss tactical patrol force. I know it looks cool, it looks exciting. To be completely honest, in my 18 years, you're going to hear the word activation, which I want you to think about as standby. We kind of just waiting to see if anything happens. Then you'll hear deployment. That's when we actually go out into the field. In my 18 years, there's been plenty of activations, especially more recently. Again, I think no matter what your political affiliation is, we can all agree that this country is very divisive. There's a lot of anger with things that have happened. We've only, like I said, actually had 3 deployments in 18 years. And I think 2004 was one, so really 2 since I've been on. So I'll just kind of give you a quick rundown. I'll go over a couple of the deployments that we had. I have some videos in here, mostly from the Northwest, just to kind of give you an idea of what, again, we're used for, if you want to say riots or large crowds, disruptive behavior. We are a last resort. That's why we've only been activated 3 times. They're not sending us out because there's a group that wants to It's got to be something where the city's burning in its worst case scenario. So again, we train 3 or 4 times a year. There's a lot of logistics going to it, but the truth is that we're really not used. When I first came on, our biggest highlight of the year was we'd come in this room during the Latin Fest and have a pizza party and stand by for 8 hours and make some overtime. We never got out. Since then, we've kind of become more trained We fall under the Department of Homeland Security, gives us all our certifications. And we've kind of made this kind of a real team. Again, rarely used, but we definitely want to train and be ready. Again, some of the videos, mostly from the Northwest, to give you an idea of, you know, the noise, what it's like. Some of these videos is a lesson that we look at of what not to do. So when you see it, I don't want you to think we do that. You want to just kill the light? Again, if anyone has,
There you go, that's normal.
can you guys see that good? Or?
That's normally what we do.
If anyone has any questions, please just jump in. We'll go from there. After the presentation, we'll kind of do a show and tell, answer any questions you have again. So basically, we're specially trained in crowd control, crowd dispersal, mass arrest technique. Again, we're only used to disperse crowds that are gathered unlawfully, engage in riotous behavior, engage in violent activity, and/or property damage. Basically, our foundation is based on the Mobile Field Force Operations curriculum taught by the Department of Homeland Security and the Center for Domestic Preparedness. I was lucky they came up here to train us. Guys nowadays have to spend the week in Alabama in the middle of nowhere, wake up at 5:30 in the morning and have their days out in those summers. So I feel lucky, but like Justin will be going this spring, he'll know what it's like. Basically, the history is prior to Y2K, crowd control was just basically the patrol officers in the cruiser. Again, 1999, in preparation of Y2K, the end of the world, what's going to happen, everything's going to fall. Maybe we should get a team together to handle that. Again, it never happened. Patrol force was never deployed. But since Y2K, again, we've only had 3 actual deployments. We have stepped up our training. We have become more of a organized unit. Basically, as of right now, we have 1 captain, 2 lieutenants, 4 sergeants, a less lethal sergeant. We have tactical medics, and basically we're formed into squads and support squads. Again, 12 to 15 officers per squad, 4 squads equal a platoon. Right now we are at 60 police officers on the team. What we did was, after our most recent activation on Main Street, again, we'll get into that. It affected a lot of the guys on the team when we lost quite a bit of officers who resigned from the team. So what we basically did was we set a number that we wanted to have. And now we make every recruit class, we'll fill where we're at to that number. We'll take volunteers first, see if we can fill the squad that way. And then it's kind of, we say mandatory, but we usually get volunteers, they're excited, they want to join, and we'll go from there. So like I said, right now we have 60 officers. Again, basically 1 squad has 10 officers. A grenadier, when you hear that word, that's going to be someone carrying any less lethal thing. The only less lethal we use, pepper ball, smoke. Again, we've never had tear gas. That stuff has been cleared out of this building. And if you remember the incident with the standoff, they actually had to get permission from the chief of police to reach out to, I believe it was Semlac, to bring their tear gas in and use tear gas on that. So we don't even have it in the building, and we don't carry that. All we carry is basically smoke, pepper spray, flashbangs, things like that. So basically this is kind of just how we form up, we get to our location. One big thing that a lot of people don't realize is the logistics that go beyond this team. So we're really not prepared if something happened right now and they said, oh my God, the city's going to burn. That would be an issue. We try to be prepared. We have our real-time crime center that monitors social media, can kind of see planned events. A lot of them get permits and then you see who's there. But we need to have, we can't fit in a cruiser with, you'll see with all this equipment on. So we basically have to rent like 6 passenger vans. The last activation, we had to go to Logan Airport to get them. So we'll have 6 vans. We got to consider food. Our last activations, I believe, were when the Memphis video was being released. We were at South High for 2 days, so we had to get cots to sleep. We were there, overnight, had to organize food, set up transportation. So there's a lot of logistics that go into what we do. But again, this is our basic column. This is how we'll march in, something what it looks like. I apologize for the kindergarten drawings. Kind of how we march. So basically, this is our main formation. You'll see in some of the slides. If we get into a crowd, we'll form a line. The biggest thing is why everything is hand signals. Again, in some of the videos I'll try to show you, you can't hear anything. It's a tumultuous crowd. It's a riot. That's why we're there. So it's loud. Sirens going off. So everything, we'll yell. I think the last activation, I lost my voice in 10 minutes. So we go to hand signals. That's how we train. Everything is hand signals. Kind of an idea of what it looks like. That's with shields. Just different formations. If you picture this going up Main Street and now you have an intersection that comes, and we want to control that area. Kind of some of the formations that we use. And again, the hand signals. This is one thing that has changed since the post came out. Now it's called kettling. So basically, we would not do this formation anymore unless we had identified and have probable cause to arrest, say, someone in a circle. The basic change to this was you have to leave them an outlet to escape, and then announce that outlet and things like that. Again, something with a containment, tell them where they can go, where they can leave. Again, the goal when we get there is we really don't want to do anything. We hope that when you see 60 officers and all this equipment, you leave. Maybe after a flashbang is put in the air, you say, "Oh, this is serious. We'll leave." We don't want to make arrests. It's really difficult to make arrests with all this equipment on. Again, our goal is just to clear out that crowd, get it under control, so that operations can handle it. Again, just something else. If you picture some side streets, and we got to go. So this is one that we train on a lot because this is, I always use, you're going to have pro-Trump supporters and anti-Trump supporters if they ever come to the DCU or anything like that. So that's kind of where we go. You'll see the squad leaders and the commanders in the middle, kind of making sure we're all set, giving commands. Again, just some more formations where we're kind of just support. We'll see, we go over. So this would be the formation we would go into. If the situation worsened and we decided we were going to use pepper spray, pepper ball, we got to get our gas masks on. So how we do this is basically the guy in front is protecting. Rocks are being thrown, things are being shot at us. They'll protect the guys behind them, allow them to get their mask on. We have a whole training regimen to go. It's not as easy as you think when your heart's racing, you're sweating, things are being thrown, you're trying to get a gas mask on and then put a helmet on. So that's something that we really stress in training is doing it over and over.
If you're giving commands with hand signals, how do the people in the front, because their backs are to you? How do
Yeah,
they
so
know?
basically, these are the squad leaders, those are officers. So myself as a commander or a sergeant, we'll be the ones in front giving the commands and things like that. So we'll get in front, we'll tap them on the shoulder if it's really chaotic and not safe to go in front, yell in their ear, things like that.
Also, all the sergeants, lieutenant, captain, we all have earpieces. So like in my squad, like with chemicals and stuff like that, no one fires unless I say, and I don't do anything unless he has said we're clear for whatever activity I'm about to do. So that's how we try to limit some of that screaming and yelling and we can't tell. He can get into here, do this, I can hear it halfway down the block, doesn't matter. And so that's how we can use some of the things when you say you can't use the hand signals or something like that. Now the squads, the patrol officers, they don't have them. They have to rely on their supervisors and the squad leaders.
And that's a good point. We talk about, we learn from our mistakes and situations that go through. One thing we learned is not just the tactical patrol team is on scene. There's obviously operations officers there with the patrol cars. There's officials in operations. And what we found and what we really stress is basically they only take commands from the commanders of the tactical patrol force. And I use this example and it sounds crazy, but if Chief Saucier is telling you go arrest that person, you say no. All right, it's the commanders. And that's all about unity. We're here as a team, we're probably outnumbered. Again, 60 seems like a lot. We used to run with like 30. It's really not, because if it's that bad, there's probably hundreds of people there. So it keeps us unified. I can't have 5 guys running over here to arrest this person and leaving a gap for whoever's to get to us. So it's very unified, and it comes strictly from us. We've trained together, and that's how it goes. So just an idea, this I think is New York on the bridge. Again, just more closed support, the same form. Every formation has a closed support, which all that means is we kind of shrink it and then just come in with backup. Again, this would be changed with the making sure there's an escape route. But again, if we've identified, you'll see some slides of when we get into Sleeping Dragons. I think it was a bank on Main Street that they were protesting and actually used the Sleeping Dragon. We're in the front door, they were protesting. I don't remember what they were funding, but so those people were identified as they're going to be arrested. So at that point, we can encircle them and go. So this is basically our arrest formation and our rescue formation. So what you see is a line. So basically we have lines and we have arrest squads. These arrest squads would be in the back. Basically, if we've identified an agitator or someone who needs to be arrested, they'll basically run through that line, grab who they got to do, we'll move up in front of them, they come back and go. Same with a rescue. If an officer's hurt or there's a civilian hurt, we'll move up, let them grab them, our TAC medics will come in and we'll provide cover. Again, just the arrest, a rescue, just kind of a outline of all the hand signals. Again, I've been doing this for 18 years. I should know that I still carry a little booklet in my back pocket in case I forget what I need to say. So we changed, we used to have the small batons with the handle, and what we did is we went to this baton. So you'll see kind of the formations of how we handle and what we do. Again, nothing changes with the use of force policy for us just because we carry this. This does not allow us to do anything that normal officers wouldn't do. We have our target areas, our no hit areas, things like that. Basically, this is just used, you'll see a lot will say get back, and we'll march in unison just to push the crowd back and get them out. But nothing changes, there's no different rules for us as there is for other officers. Just kind of some arrest things. What we do is, this is how we would make arrests, and we always face the arrestee away from us in case there's spit, anything like that. What you don't see here is we always send out 2 support officers to protect the firearms of the officers making arrest. Again, it's a large crowd, it's riotous, it's tumultuous, who knows what can happen. And you'll see when we go into our gas mask, part of our training is to make sure you clip your bag because we have filters in our bag. The last thing we want is someone to get a filter from us or our gas mask. Now it's useless, to us when we use it. Just some pictures of some things we've been involved in. Again, it all depending on the size of the person. Are they resisting? How many people do we need? So whatever you see here, double that to protect the sidearms of the officers. So again, the squads are the foundation, well-organized, well-disciplined teams. We can easily be combined to create a number of crowd things. We can split here, this team can go here. We know where they are, we know what they're doing. It's very, with any break in the line or if someone does their own thing, it screws everything up. Everything has to be uniform, stay in line, and go from there. Just some legal perspectives of things we have to think of going into an incident. Basically, this is the law, and again, a part of controversy with the Main Street ones, as you may know, everything got thrown out. They felt that this was kind of outdated. It is what it is. But basically, the law 269.1 is an unlawful assembly, which is 5 or more persons being armed with clubs or other dangerous weapons, or if 10 or more persons, whether armed or not, are unlawfully riotous, tumultuous, assembled in a city or town, the mayor, alderman. You can see it is a little outdated. Selectmen, justice of the peace, state police, sheriff, deputies. Again, if basically in the name of the Commonwealth command, all persons so assembled immediately and peacefully to disperse. If they do not thereupon immediately and peacefully disperse, Each of the magistrates and officers shall command the assistance of all persons that are present suppressing such riot, unlawful assembly, and arresting such persons. So again, is it an outdated law? Yes, but the bottom line is there's a gathering there that has been deemed unlawful or riotous. But again, protesters, just like every civilian, you have First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, 14th Amendment in the Civil Rights Act of 1871. Again, First Amendment is freedom of speech, right to assemble peacefully. What can we do? Courts have ruled that the government can place reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on First Amendment rights. What that means is restrictions must be content neutral, unbiased. It must be narrowly tailored to serve a legitimate government interest. If they're blocking traffic, must allow for ample alternative channels for communicating the message. Basically, we have to voice to them that we've deemed it unlawful. You have so many minutes to disperse. Again, this is Fourth Amendment, right against the legal search and seizure. All rules of criminal procedure still apply. Nothing changes because we're wearing a bunch of this stuff. Probable cause that a crime has been committed must exist against each individual taken into custody. So again, nothing changes. This Eighth Amendment is one that a lot of the protesters will try to use to confuse officers. This is after arrest, basically. No excessive bail, no excessive fines, no cruel and unusual punishments. Again, applies to post-arrest involving detention centers and the courts. May try to confuse us, accusing them of Eighth Amendment violations. 14th, due process of law, equal protection. Even in mass arrest situations, arrangements must be made or policies in place to ensure these individuals are afforded the rights of any other prisoner. So obviously, if we know something's happened, we'll make sure there's space in the cell room, make sure we have appropriate wagons, make sure they can get booked in a timely manner, have a bail clerk, all the rights, nothing changes. Again, this is a Civil Rights Act, basically the primary source of all civil litigation, violation of Constitution, someone acting under state law, whether it's us failing to train, causing deliberate indifference, a policy or custom resulting in deprivation of rights. And again, the use of force model is no different for us than it is for any officer on the street. So this is just, again, do I see too many of these in Worcester or Massachusetts? Not really. We had an Antifa kind of rally where we were activated, where you saw some of this. Basically, a direct action group occurs when a group takes action which is intended to reveal an existing problem, highlight an alternative, or demonstrate a possible solution to a social issue. This can include nonviolent and less often violent activities which target persons, group, or property deemed offensive to the direct action participants. Just trying to think off the top of my head, we had some protesters on the train tracks, which the train was bringing coal, so they protested that. Again, the banks, who they fund, and what they do. These groups are sometimes very well organized. There's a spokesperson, there's a media liaison, there's a police liaison, they have a medical team. Again, our goal, if we can identify and we know that this group is going to be here doing this, we'll send someone down to speak to their leader or spokesperson, kind of lay out the ground rules, see what they expect, help them out as much as we can to avoid any unnecessary action that needs to be taken. Some are very good, some don't want anything to do. Again, so you'll see legal advisors will have bright yellow hats. So once someone gets arrested, they know who's arresting them, they go down, bail's ready, everything is set. Medical staff, they have baby shampoo, milk, anything in case anyone gets pepper sprayed. They have first aid kits, some of them could be EMTs, whatever it is. Some devices, this is where we get into the sleeping dragons. And again, I thought this was just something you see on TV, but it is real. It has come to Worcester. This is actually in Boston, I think, maybe the Mass Pike or one of those. But basically what it is they take a big barrel, they chain themselves in with this, they pour cement, and there's no way out. No way to move it, anything like that. I think Sergeant Gorman may have gone to a class to learn about these. We use the fire department to take this down. This is basically after it's cut, what you're looking at, what their arms were in. And just some more pictures. So I think this was the one in Worcester. I'm not positive, but again, same kind of thing, just a smaller barrel. Again, I haven't seen this. This actually is out there. I know I don't want to stereotype like the Northwest, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, but this is where most of these videos and pictures have come through that we've seen. I know that's not clear. She's basically tied her neck around the bike. This gets crazy. I don't know where this stuff is, but this is, you'll see, there's even another one. Mainly around the train tracks, they'll do. Again, although we don't see this, this is all stuff that we have to prepare for, just in case it ever happens. So mass arrest considerations, how do we handle it? Basically, when we get there, we'll have a commander, whether it's from operations or there, we'll give the warning to the whole group. How we do it, whether it's a microphone over the cruiser microphone, and we put a person behind the group. That comes into play in court, said, we made it, did you hear it? Yep, he heard it, so we know everyone heard it. Again, make sure the warning is heard, give a time frame in which to disperse peacefully, give a direction which to disperse peacefully, and act on the warning. Do not extend if time has run out. So if we get there and say, we'll go over it, there's a line we have, my name is Lieutenant Albano, in the name of the Commonwealth, we command you to disperse. You have 5 minutes to disperse this way, and then we time it. And once that 5 minute hits, then we move in and make the arrest. If we sit there and don't act on that, then they stay, more people join, and go from there. So again, here it is. I'm Lieutenant Albano, police officer with City of Worcester. Hereby declare this an unlawful assembly. In the name of the Commonwealth, I command all those assembled. Again, you may move. If you do not disperse, you'll be arrested. If you refuse to move, chemical agents will be used. Provide the chemical agent projectile warning only if their use is anticipated. So only if we're going to use some kind of chemical. Again, make sure the cell room and all our service personnel is prepared if there are going to be mass arrests. We always have an EMS unit usually on standby, an ambulance. If we know if it gets mobile, it gets a little tricky. But again, we have tactical medics, which are for us and civilians to treat anyone on scene. Some of the supplies, again, gas masks, we have fire extinguishers, the flexi cuffs you'll see, a cutter to cut those off, water, med kits, shields, baby shampoo, again for the pepper spray, megaphone, air tanks for the pepper balls, things like that. What we learned from Maine, we basically have a van that follows our, if you want to say, our caravan of vehicles. On Main Street, we went in there with just this. We did not have any shields. Things progressively got worse. We began taking rocks, bricks, flares, fireworks, and we actually had to retreat back to our supply van to get our shields. Lesson learned, now that supply van will slowly follow us as we move. We'll always put someone there to guard it and go from there. Again, if the event is planned and unrest is expected, remove dangerous items from the area, dumpsters, newspaper boxes, construction materials. Again, consider EMS needs, seek out and arrest vandals quickly before they can cite others, fire starters, glass breakers, graffiti. And again, identify and remove the leader of the disorderly groups. Once you remove the leader, the main agitator, you'd be amazed at how everything else calms down. So again, activation is standby, deployments is we're actually going. I was not on the job for this time, but the 2004 Red Sox World Series victory, a large group gathered on Highland Street to celebrate the Red Sox victory. Crowd became destructive, began to damage cars, set fires. Tactical patrol team was deployed to Highland Street. Pepper ball was deployed in a dispersal technique. Crowd was quickly dispersed, no known arrests. And Sergeant Bennis will get into like dispersal technique. We don't shoot anybody with pepper ball. Again, other than the green marker, which is not pepper ball, it's just paint. Pepper ball is used on the ground and then it comes up. It really is useless if it hits you. It's when it hits the ground and disperses, or if there's a crowd and you deploy pepper ball above, now all that pepper spray comes down and that's the irritant. But we don't use any direct impact to hit anybody. So this was my first deployment, February of 2017. anti-fascist protest. Again, no permit. Again, when we look back, there was a planned event at Federal Square with no permit. It was a group of about 75 to 100. Some actually were carrying bats. They had flags with hooks, brass knuckles. So now you go back to that unlawful assembly, 5 or more armed. Probably at that time could have shut it down right there. Again, lesson learned. Some had covering, face mask covering, became mobile, started walking from Federal Square to Kelly Square. Their main goal was to get on 290 and stop traffic. We were activated. Again, very difficult for us. Now imagine 60 guys trying to drive a cruiser with all this equipment on him, and they're moving, we're getting out in Kelly Square, form our line formation to block the entrance to Kelly Square. Again, difficult to control because they were mobile. We blocked access. Several arrests were made there. That got to a point where once we blocked their purpose to Kelly Square, they had no purpose. They just wanted to disrupt any traffic they could at the time. It was clear. Several warnings were given every opportunity to disperse. They went into neighborhoods. So once that call was made, then we began to arrest. All right, so this was 6/1/20. Now this was the middle of COVID, right after George Floyd, protests, angry country all around, rightfully so. I'll go into some of this, but there is pending lawsuits with this incident, so I don't want to get into anything too specific or anything like that. I have never been in the military, but I can say that this was the scariest night of my life. Like I said, several officers injured with bricks, fireworks, flare guns were deployed, hit an officer in the chest. And when that happened, like I said, I've never been in the military, but if you've seen Saving Private Ryan or Platoon, and all you hear is medic, so again, this is, for the majority, were the first deployment for a lot of these guys. Like I said, this took a toll on a lot of guys. Very scary night. So again, I'll talk with it again. Again, started off as a very peaceful George Floyd Black Lives Matter solidarity rally. Our chief of police was there, took part, city councilors were there, 1,000+ people, city call to courthouse. Following the march, nearly all involved peacefully left the area. A separate group of about 60 or more gathered at the Oval. They marched towards Main South. We actually were escorting them to make sure no one got hit by cars, blocking traffic. Then it starts to get to Portland Street where someone throws a bottle at a police cruiser. Then as they continue to escort, they get to Main and Hammond and a group surrounds a cruiser. Later found an M80 under the wiper on the windshield. That officer abandons the vehicle. It's at that moment that they call for the tactical patrol team. So we get there, we give the order to disperse. The issue with that one was it was in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot on Main and Hammond, and there's a wall, an elevation. So the decision is made not to risk any civilians' injuries falling off the wall, any officers make arrests. So we kind of just keep giving commands. It goes to the street. More orders are being given. Now they start to throw rocks, glass, flare guns, fireworks. Dumpsters are set on fire. Businesses are starting to get their windows broken, starting to get vandalized. Again, flares. At that time, the order is given to deploy less lethal OC, again, on the ground to disperse, inert smoke, anything to basically say, all right, this is serious now, time to move. Again, very peaceful group. We're talking about a group that decided to use a peaceful rally and movement to kind of take out their anger, use it to destroy things, whatever it was. This goes on for about 2 to 3 hours of back and forth. We march up Main Street. We're trying to clear it out, deal with that. At the beginning of this, there's an individual with a box of Molotov cocktails on the roof right above us. Unknowns to us, for about 5 or 10 minutes, an officer sees him lighting the Molotov cocktails, and we're able to go. I can say that that officer saved 50 or 60 police officers' lives because all he had to do was throw one down and we all would have went up. Again, I don't think that individual was part of either group. It was just someone using this opportunity. But you can see how that creates the tensity, everything going on. Again, we end up making, again, this goes on 2 to 3 hours back and forth. We go back, it was probably a 5, 6, 7 hour night when everything's said and done. We make 19 arrests. There's 3 officers who are injured by rocks, glass, and flares. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is one of our sergeants. That's a civilian that's under arrest. They launch a flare. It catches something on fire in the front of the cruiser and actually burns a hole through his vest that he has on. A separate incident is the officer where I said, medic, takes a flare gun directly to the chest, creates a hole in the chest. Luckily, he was fine. So again, just to understand the atmosphere, what's going on, this is us in the beginning. We retreat, get shields. So this is just the video, but just going back, like I said, to that. Again, there is a lawsuit going on. I don't really have, I have my opinions on what it is and discuss, but the 19 arrests were thrown out in court. Just something we had to deal with. I'm very proud of the way the guys handled that. There was a no-win situation. There was a lot of anger, you can imagine, in that time with COVID and everything that went on. I thought we handled ourselves well, professionally. Again, this stuff is ugly when we get involved. Speaking for incidents like this, so by policy, there's always a debriefing. A few days later, things have calmed down. From the chief to everyone, commanders that are involved, we'll debrief, go over lessons learned, anything like that. Identify officers who are struggling with that. That would be our job on kind of our level, see who's having issues. We're very lucky we have a stress management officer here and kind of newly formed a peer support group that is very good that we can refer to. We just called the lieutenant who runs that, say, hey, we had this incident. I think so-and-so could be having a hard time. Can you check in with them? And they'll check in with them, talk to them, follow up with them, and see if there's anything else that needs to be done. Always something that we can work on as a culture in the police department, the stigmas of being a tough guy and not getting help. But you could see when incidents like this, and I'm sure SWAT has more incidents like that, where, and even guys on the job have issues, and it's definitely something that this department is working hard on, but there's still the stigma, and it's still going to take a lot of work for guys to be able to come forward and say, I need help, or this bothered me. But it is more at the top of the minds of most commanders. Every incident where it's traumatic, whether it's a dead body, a child that was hurt, or anything, our commanders are doing a much better job of at least checking in and giving them the options to say, if you need something, I'm here to help.
I can add to that too. Historically, law enforcement has done a terrible job at taking care of their own with stress. I have been almost killed. I spent 7 years on the SWAT team. I've seen 3 friends of ours die since we've been on the job. I've seen, how many dead people have we seen? Ridiculous amounts of dead people. And I went to school to be an English teacher.
Yeah.
So my mindset wasn't ready for, and the job gets real quick. And so the problem is that the mental health system overall in America is busted, right? Well, that doesn't stop when it hits us. If someone needs help and they say that they want to hurt themselves, what happens? Have they talked about a Section 12 before in this yet? Where you go and get involuntarily hospitalized, right? There's a 72-hour hold. When something like that happens, they also remove any weapons you may have. I need this to work. So it really puts a barrier in front of really seeking help when we see things like this, or we're part of things like that. So the peer support group, in my experience, has been the best thing we've ever done, because there are people that have seen what we've seen under the same restrictions that we're under, and has been tremendous in that kind of help.
That's it. at this point, I'll take any questions. Feel free to come up. This is basically the uniform that we wear. So, and on top of that, we have our bulletproof vest on under this. So this, shin guards, forearm pads, this kind of helmet, again, gas mask, and if we do use it, the gas mask is on, and then you gotta get that helmet on underneath it. We have a pepper ball gun and our 40 millimeter launcher, which again could launch pepper spray, flashbangs. When I say flashbangs, again, it's like a firework. We'll shoot it off kind of as a warning, like, hey, we're here. Again, our goal is to show up, the crowd sees 60 guys in this uniform and says, maybe we should go. And that's a perfect day for us. Does it work that way? Not really, but if you have a crowd of 100 and that works on 30 of them, now we're only dealing with 70. So, again, feel free to come up. None of this stuff is loaded, so feel free to pick it up. Again, just to show you, these are the pepper balls that get loaded into the pepper ball gun. So you can see, if it hits someone with a jacket or something on, it's just gonna fall to the ground and do nothing. That's why we use the ground and above. One, again, lesson learned, in the chaos, one of our officers using pepper ball, pouring it into the gun, spilled it all. Now on our way back, we're stepping on it. And now we're overwhelmed with it. So, again, yeah. And then just these green are the markers like I talked about. This is just paint. So if we have PC to arrest, now we see a big green dot on them, we know that they can be arrested. So again, Sergeant Bennett will talk a little bit about the chemicals, and you guys can feel free to come up and just to take a look, hold whatever you need.
So before anyone does come up, I'll just go over what's pepper spray, what's OC, kind of what we use and what we don't use. Pepper spray is OC. OC is oleoresin capsaicin, spelled phonetically. It's terrible, but it's basically an organic version of what you would consider mace or any kind of spray, right? So it's actually what is used in your hot sauces, what's used in those terrible buffalo dry rubs and stuff like that. When you've been sprayed by this stuff, you will have a different appreciation for hot wings, any kind of like the adobo, like the spicy stuff, because that's what's in it. That's what really it is. So, like I said, I spent 7 years on the SWAT team. I was on our green team, which is our chemical munitions team. The SWAT team will use impact munitions, meaning they retired in 2019. They will hit someone with impact munitions. It's rare, but they have the capacity to do so and are allowed to by our use of force model. With us, we hit the ground. I find that I just want to make the environment a not fun place to be. So what we would do is these pepper ball guns here would be loaded with the actual pepper ball. Okay, the pepper ball is powder, it's not liquid. You assume the pepper ball looks like a paintball, it's just powder. Hits the ground, goes up into the air. I hate that, I'd like to go home. That's best case scenario. The green, he's right, it is paint. These aren't super accurate, okay? They're pretty good, right? But when we talk about these being little pieces of paint, sometimes they can have a bump in them. What do you do when you take a wiffle ball and you put a bump in it? Instant knuckleball, right? It's this unhittable ball. That can happen. Victoria Snellgrove in 2003 or 2004 during the Boston Red Sox riots. She went to Fitchburg State, I knew her. She got hit in the eye because the ball went, and they were aiming here. And so we shoot at the ground with these. If we are to mark someone, okay, and that means there's probable cause for an arrest, okay, we will be using this. I will be using this. Okay, this is a much more stable platform. And the weapon system that I would use, it's made by Pepper Ball. These are magazine fed, nothing's bouncing around. It's a straighter shot, okay? And inside here, you can't really see it from where I'm sitting or standing, but it's not a circle anymore. It's a rounded tip, similar to a firearm bullet, only it's filled with the Pepper Ball material. That allows it to spin correctly. It doesn't shoot off and go to the side or anything like that. It will drop, but it will be an anticipatory drop. So you can understand you can predict where the weapon system is going to impact more. But like I said, we would only be doing that for marking.
Again, we try to learn from things that we do. We try to learn from other departments, never trying to question what they did, because we weren't there, we don't know the situation, but, you know, just try to look at it and say, what can we do, or what should we do better? Well, thank you very much for listening, we appreciate it. I think SWAT's next.
My name is Joe Scampini, I'm the lieutenant. I work in the vice squad in the gang unit. I'm in charge of them and also I'm the commander of the SWAT team. I'm here to talk to you guys about SWAT, answer your questions, tell you what our main goals are, what we do for work, how to get on to be a SWAT team member and stuff like that. So if there's any topic that kind of interests you, that you might have thought that we're involved with, please ask a question. No problem talking about past call-outs that we have, difficulties that we come across through court, through society, anything like that. I'm open just about everything. I gotta leave a back door open, so. But the main thing about SWAT, what I will tell you is it is special weapons and tactics. Everybody knows that. But it's kind of more than that. I'm gonna tell you, within this department, it's been a long-standing tradition, past 3 chiefs, which spans almost my whole career of 30 years. Top guy's been a member of the SWAT team in his career. Some people call us the team, which is basically what it is. When it gets a little bit too hairy, they call us. So basically what we do is, I'll start with, we do high-risk warrants. So I'll start with that, and then we'll get into the whole hostage stuff and, you know, the bang-bang stuff. So when there is a warrant for the vice squad, the detective bureau, gang unit, out of town, DEA, state police, they come into the city, and they want us to do the entry, okay? What we do basically is I sit down, we overlook things, and I say, okay, you want to use SWAT, but you have to hit a certain criteria, because what we're going to do is very high speed. So just think about it. They're dealing drugs on your street, and all the neighbors are complaining and stuff like that, and you want those people out of your neighborhood. You want something should be done about it, a police procedure. Drugs alone will not get you a SWAT team, but we review everything. If the guy's known to us, if he has a bad criminal record, guns, possible gun inside the apartment, now see where I'm going, it gets higher. The guy has assault and battery on police officers, higher. In his past, maybe he has a kidnapping, another check mark. The guy has fought the police before, check mark. He doesn't appear in court, check mark. There are a lot of different things that lead up to it, and then once you get all that information, you're like, all right, we should be doing this, because you just can't knock on the door, he's gonna open it up and go like this. So, at that point, I pass it on to my bosses. I review everything. I have, like, Sergeant Seeger is also a SWAT team member and a team leader. We'll discuss things, how are we gonna do this? You know, so we have time. Time is an asset to us, because if we know that guy's in there, then, you know, more or less we tactically can try to do the safest thing for everyone involved. If it means clearing out the first floor apartments, we ask those people to leave, get their phone numbers. Anyways, I'm diving in too deep to the particulars, but let's stick with the bad guy. Myself, team leaders, and anybody on the SWAT team who has information about that building, we take all their knowledge in, and we'd be like, okay, this guy likes to party. I don't know if you guys know this, but heroin is a big morning drug, coke's a big night drug. So, kind of important, because if the guy's dealing crack and he's, you know, up all night smoking, we don't want to interrupt him. We want this puppy sleeping when we go to the door. So those are the little things that, as a SWAT commander, that you have to think of. Children, babies in the house, you know, we don't want to disrupt children. That's not our goal. We will do everything in our power not to do that. And, you know, we have different tactics that we take care of that kind of stuff. So, you know, everything is added in before we actually execute the warrant. Again, the warrant has to be reviewed by us. We look at it because, believe it or not, courts make mistakes once in a while. They won't admit it, but they do. I might get in trouble for that one. But anyways, you know, so we review everything, we tactically figure out what is the safest thing for the person inside, or the people inside, and for the officers, and for the neighbors. So, we're going back to his neighborhood. The guy's on the 3rd floor, because they're never on the 1st floor, am I correct? Always on the 3rd floor. Say he's dealing heroin, has a couple guns in his apartment, possible cameras, another thing that you gotta remember. Lookouts, you know, everything gets added in, and we decide on a time to hit the door. Now, a lot of people think that we just bust through the door and run through the house. Everyone get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. That tactic is about as old as I am. Don't do that anymore. Our best thing is, we have a search warrant, it's not a no-knock. Knock, 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 4 times. Police search warrant, give them a chance to open the door. If they don't, we use certain tools to get us through the door. Once we're in there and everything is safe, we line in a stick and call people out one by one. Come out in the bedroom to the right. Come out with your hands up. We yell it loud, have lights, they come out, we take that person, we safely search them, and then bring them outside. So those tactics of, when everyone talks about SWAT, like kicking the doors in and running in and putting everyone on the ground, it is a tactic, but it's only used for if the circumstances call for it. And what's the last time we've done that, Timmy? Been a long time, right? Because, you know, as we all know, everything has changed in the past 5-7 years. People are looking at different stuff, doing it better. But I will tell you one thing, maybe between 700 and 800 entries I've done between the SWAT team, the gang unit, and SWAT. And there's not one, and I'm telling you, not one, that I ever stood there and go, oh shit, we did something wrong. Pretty good record. Yeah. And I'm not, and I'm not, well, sort of bragging, but I'm bragging for my team, not for myself. But we take everything into account, and we get our reputation knocked around a little bit because of people who think that we do other stuff. But I would stand by the way that we tactically try to do the right thing. Anyone remember Colby Street? About what happened there when they were shooting at us? Anyone know where Colby Street is? Well, it's off of Lincoln Street. So, let me back up. That's a planned SWAT warrant, okay? So let's put that to the side. Now we'll get into the stuff that always makes it on the television. Get a phone call. I'll use Colby Street as an example. Everyone on the SWAT team has a different job throughout the department. It could be on a day off, could be nighttime, whatever. I work in Vice, Timmy works in training. There are guys who work all over the building. We get a call, SWAT's needed. We drop what we're doing, details and everything, we go downstairs, okay? The determination to call us in is already done by a captain and the deputy and the chief of police. Right away, they're on the phones. I get on the phone with them, say, hey, they're requesting us. There's a guy who just shot at the police, barricaded in the house, trying to get into the neighbor's house. That's the way this came in. So we know that we're dealing with a very, very bad person, okay? He shot his mother and he shot his brother. Doesn't get any worse than that. So you know, we go down to the SWAT room. Hey, some guys, we've had them travel from the Cape to come back because that's our job. That's what we do. And, you know, we gear up. First 5 get there, we send them out. Next 5, send them out because they're all, like I said, they're all over the state. You don't know where they are. Some guys are working, luckily, so we send them out there. Once everything is approved, that's when you have to kind of put your arms around the scene, and that's my job. My job comes safety first, don't do stupid stuff, and also bring extra water, because you never know how long you're gonna be there. This was, what, 13 hours? And so this guy was in his house and he's shooting at the police outside, all the SWAT guys who surround the house, he's shooting at us. Some guys returned fire, went back and forth, back and forth. So my job is to set up a command post where everybody else comes, ambulance, fire, news people, you name it, they come, neighbors, everybody just shows up, and it gets extremely hectic because it's amazing when I'm there on a scene, everyone else who's around me, they know more than me. They tell me, like, hey, why don't you just go through the front door? And I'm like, because I don't want to go to my friend's house and tell his wife I got him shot. That's why, you know? Leave it to the pros. And we are professionals, that's what we do. And this kid, you know, definitely mental health problems. We can all agree that, you know, I don't think he woke up that day, said he was gonna shoot his brother and mother and shoot at the police. I don't think so. If he did, well, I'm wrong. But it comes down to communication, knowing the law, and also knowing your personnel. So we have 30 guys on the SWAT team. I can just about, well, one just had a baby recently. I don't know the baby's name. Shame on me, but I could tell you everyone how many kids they have, how many children they have, what they've done before for work. We're a very tight-knit group. So when we go into a call out like that, it's serious. You can hear a pin drop in the room downstairs. And, you know, usually those 30 guys would make a ruckus. But when it's time to go to work, we go to work. And I'm never more proud than to when I see these guys come out and the neighbors are clapping and stuff like that, they'll go up to them and say thank you, you know? It's a professional group of men. Because you can ask Timmy, there's no jerks on my team, not allowed. You know, first you gotta be a good person. Second, you gotta know your job and do a good job. Third, sorta, gotta be dependable. Can't call in sick because, you know, you feel like going to the Cape. We all do. So, you know, it's we're gonna be having a tryout soon for the team, and the numbers are way up. So we must be doing something right that some of the younger kids want to do our job. Because in about 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a big turnover. Mm-hmm. But any questions so far? Go ahead, sir.
Could you back up a little bit? I must have missed it. What happened again with Colby Street? Did you negotiate with him?
Okay. Yeah. If you want me to go further, I will. So after started to get dark, about 6 o'clock. Now my mind is thinking, like, how are we gonna do this? How, you know, there are different tactics that we put in OC spray. We took a robot, we borrowed a robot to go in to the house. He comes around the corner and shoots the robot. We have it all on, you know, start shooting out the front door at the police again. So calm them down, we retreat. Again, time is our ally. We know where he is, we know what the bad guy is. Now, it's like, oh boy, this guy's crazy, so we can't bring like any other units or anything like that close to the house. Because, you know, there were people who said that we may be able to put a fire hose in because he's in the basement and flood him out. But the problem was it was a walkout basement, so we're not doing that. But I would not put a firefighter in a line of fire where this guy can just pop out.
Right.
So, and he was coming at all sides of the house, so it wasn't just like one side. So, through the deputy chief and the chief at the time, we got, what's the name of the gas that we ended up deploying in? CS gas, which now, that way that the world turns, you have to get it approved by post before you use it. You have to get it approved by the chief of police who was there, so he approved it. It's kind of a big thing. So I was never in the military. A lot of guys just said, we put that in, he's coming out. And they weren't lying. They put it in the front door. Within 15 minutes, he was hanging out the back trying to get air. At that time, he opened up the door. We sent a K-9 to control him, grab onto him. He got rid of his firearm. The K-9 dragged him, and then we arrested him. Brought him up for mental health because he wasn't coming to our jail. So that's how it ended, but it was long. I have one regret on my part. Like, if I'm in charge of the scene, it started to get dark before I started thinking about darkness. So I should have had floodlights out there earlier. So it still bothers me because I let that get by me. But it was peaceful. He was just indicted, but now he's at Bridgewater, probably where he belongs, like getting evaluated. None of the neighborhood, I couldn't have asked for more friendly people. Let us use bathrooms. People were bringing us food, water, Gatorade. It was probably about 90 degrees that day, of course. And you know, and these guys are in full tactical gear. I get to wear, you know, a light vest, and I was sweating. But so that was probably one of the toughest ones that I've ever been to, because at one point, one of the sergeants came up to me and says, if this doesn't work, what's your next plan? I was like, same as my first one, pray to God. You know, it was, that guy took us for a run. He did, but, you know, we beat him in extra innings. But everyone was safe. Mother, brother, they recovered from their surgeries and stuff like that. This kid's getting his mental health, which he deserves and should. I've been a big proponent. That is one thing in this city that we don't spend enough money, resources, anything on is mental health. But that's for a different day. That's just my opinion as just a guy. So, any more questions on that kind of stuff?
You mentioned the cameras earlier. What do you guys do? Do you try to disable?
For surveillance?
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing that's changed within the past couple of years. Like most of the people do have surveillance cameras. With the way that we use our tactics now, if we're compromised and they know that we're coming, you know, that gives them an opportunity to barricade themselves, arm themselves. So it's just a sticking point. That's why tactically we'll have a shield at the door when we do the knock. And you know, we try to, if someone can reach one on the way to turn it, I'm all for that. But you know, it's the safety of the guys that's the utmost important thing, and the people inside. You know, I've had many, like we had a call out the other morning where we were talking after, and a couple of young ladies were in there, and you know, they said after, she was like, everyone was really nice. I'm like, yeah, you know. Yeah, we're nice guys, sorry. I know you want to hate us, but, you know, go ahead, miss.
I have a question when it comes to like swatting a house, no knocking, or you relying on an informant, and sometimes that informant is not accurate. Like, there was an incident that happened on Hillside a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. So what was?
Like, How about if the informant is not accurate on the information and you guys still do the proceeding?
It is up to the investigating officer, not our SWAT, but the investigating officer to verify any CI information. Now, I'm in charge of all the CI stuff in the department, and if you notice case, it was actually the state police whose warrant it was, but it was the Worcester Police SWAT team that made the entry for them. So we go on good faith of other departments, just, we have a great, their CPAC unit, their drug unit's very good too. So we go on their information, here's the warrant, the judge signed it, the clerk signed it. So it was also a no-knock, which now a judge has to sign it. It used to be a clerk, now it's a judge.
That's good.
So, but, just to do a little back and forth with you, our perspective on a no-knock is safety, okay? Is usually, we don't do many no-knocks any longer because of, people thought that, again, we were putting everyone on the ground, stuff like that. What the no-knock will let us do, and will enable a unit to do, is to use stealth. Darkness of the night, stuff like that, where we know we have information. We have some CIs that go in, they take pictures, and they'll get the information, and there'll be a guy sleeping with a gun in bed. And we get that live time. Another thing is social media. Kind of helps us out a lot because these guys love to brag. And, hey, I just picked up a new gun, look at me. Yeah, hey, thanks, buddy. So you put that in the affidavit and everything just builds up and builds up. But no knocks get a bad knock, to tell you the truth, but for me as a SWAT commander, there are some times where I just sit there and I go, yeah, I'm not doing that without a no knock. Too dangerous. Too dangerous. It was state police had one in the city that we did. The guy was supposed to have explosives, and the doors are rigged and stuff like that. So they're ready to hit the door in the middle of the night. They call me up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it'd be a good idea. Let's just slow this down. Let's think about it. Blah blah.
Right?
Then we said, what's that?
It was like on Kendall Street or something?
No, it was off of, I was in the building behind, what is that place? It's on, near the new hockey rink.
Oh, okay.
Right across from the Compass Lounge. That big brick
Which is
building.
now the
It was an
district.
apartment. Ended up being a studio. We walked in and we couldn't believe it. Like, they had after hour parties up there, they had a stage, they had everything. You see the DJ equipment? Go ahead, sir.
How are you figuring out how to adjust with all these, the plethora of swatting events right now, which is...
Oh, yeah.
You know what, the thing about the swatting events, you can kinda, there's a lot of experience on the team, and there's a lot of investigators that are on the team who you kinda pick up sort of hints of threats and stuff like that. And the number one thing is, they get a call, comes out of nowhere. Like, hey, this guy's in this apartment, he's got 15 guns, he's gonna shoot the police as soon as they come to the door. And that's all I got by.
That's why they've shifted to swatting versus bomb threats, because 99.99% of all bomb threats, the act is the threat, except that they thought that SWAT had to respond, so many of those are now turning into
Right.
swatting calls.
Yep, and
hugely dangerous.
And you just like in life, you gain experience through things. You see trends, you see way people act, how they talk. Like, I mean, we do our homework. We do a study right on the address, how many times we've been there. Now with body cameras, we can use that to see the insides of the house and stuff like that. So, I caution myself, and we have a lot of people like in the building where as soon as that would happen, they're like, oh my God. But it's like, all right, settle down. Take a cup of calm down. Let's think about this and, feel it through. Call the phone back, call this back. Hey, Joe Schmo had a call across the street. Did he ever hear somebody? Pick up the phone. Most people want to help us, you know, and we don't want to make mistakes going in on a swatting call and be like, "God, poor
But it
Graham."
might slow your response down on a real call. When
Yeah, it could.
When you've just had 400 across the country in the
Yep.
last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but again, it's everyone on the team putting their heads together. It's my boss is saying, "What do you think?" Giving me the authority, which is nice. God bless him, where I can be like, "Yeah, I don't like this. Let's wait. No one's in imminent danger, so let's wait." And you wait. And you're like, yeah, and then you see a lady walk out walking a poodle. Like, "Ma'am, do you live on the second floor?" "Yep." "Okay. You good?" "Yeah, we're fine." So, you know, the thing is, on my team, and one thing that I try to stress, don't panic. We can't panic, you know, because there's no one coming behind us. It's just us at the end. So, and most guys are good. There are times like, you know, like Sergeant Seeger, if he sees something there, he comes up to me and says, "Dude, don't do it." I don't do it. I trust everyone on the team. It's a collaborative effort. I'm only here because of rank, because that's, you know, do I have veto power? I do, but those guys, they know just as good as I do, you know? So it's like, hey, I don't think we should do this. And there have been times that we've sat in a room going, yeah, we're not gonna do this. It's not a SWAT thing. Let's wait the person out, you know? So, you know, but swatting, it'll go on for next few years, and then something else will replace it. But, you know, so, any questions on that? Go ahead, sir.
Unrelated to that, when you guys are going out, especially on a planned call, what kind of, if any, last minute reconnaissance do you do to make sure there's no, let's say, young children, infants, or elderly people who might, especially like if you're going to be throwing a flashbang? Yeah, you may not have any history of somebody there, but you know, there could be somebody that came in last minute.
Yeah, great question. On something like that, when we have something planned, we put surveillance cars out there overnight.
Okay.
You know, and they usually come out of my office, out of the vice squad. They drive around and beat up cars, and they look like bums, but they're very nice men. But they'll go there, and I tell you, like, as a SWAT team, if someone in our vice squad is doing a paper and they're sitting on it, and what they say is gospel. They do, you know, I do it every day. I see these guys, before they will double check their work, they'll pass their work off to someone else, they'll look at each other and be like, "Hey, what do you think?" Give the opinion. So there is a lot more thought that goes into this stuff than people really realize. Like, they'll do an address history, they'll do everything that they can through the computer, pictures, you know, we have drones now. We've up and run the drones a few times, but I mean, it's a sexy toy. So, you know, you gotta make sure you use it at the right part. But, questions? Go ahead.
Do you guys provide, like, say for example, if you guys go into a house and there's kids involved, like, do you provide anything, like, say you are going to arrest somebody that's, you know, wanted, if there's a child there, do you provide, like, any additional help, just like to avoid, like, trauma on the kids or anything like that?
Yeah, now, like, case by case basis, you know, we never want to do anything in front of the children. We'll let the mom bring them into a room. We'll sit there with them. You know, we have other resources, like we can call up, you know, someone from CIT here. If we know that there are young girls in there, we'll usually bring a female officer along. They seem to get along better. There's different things, and we do not want to keep the children there. So, you know, if the mother's not involved or anything like this, hey, do you have a place to go? Do you want, you know, pack a bag for the kids, get an aunt there, a grandmother, anything. We do not, you know, and as far as if we have to hit a house knowing that children are in there, there's always different plans. Because we will not do one if we don't know where the children are sleeping. we won't, And again, knock and announce is a lot better for stuff like that. Because if the children are there, it'd be like, hey, do you want to do this in front of your children? Let's do the smart thing, So, as far as services and stuff like that, it's just a phone call away, but it all depends, and we don't like to add any more trauma to them, so if we can get a relative there relatively soon, relatively, then it's all for the better. My officers are always great with children, high five, we all have kids, well, most of us do, there's a couple that don't, but, and that's, it's all about the kids. As far as I'm concerned, it's, I want a kid to give me a high five instead of the finger. So you treat them good, just like you treat anybody else, So, I don't know if I'm yeah, wow, I talked a lot. Any other questions?
It's all good.
So, we'll be having tryouts, adding new people. In April, we're having a 2-day tryout for the team, and we're gonna put on a handful more. So we'll see, there'll be some new officers that we can train. We only want the best of the best, and trust me, these guys will tell you it's not the good old boy network. Whether I know you, if you're related to me, it doesn't work like that. Everybody has a fair shot, and you can, there are guys that I've never seen in my life tried out for the team. They did fantastic, their work history was great, their bosses said, good guy, he gets on the team, That's the way we roll, because we want the best of the best, because, again, we are the team, and you don't want Shaky Jake next to you. You want someone who's in the game, and that's just the way it is. So, anything else? I'm sorry I kept you up. Again, thank you, I appreciate it.
How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Tommy Needham. I am the sergeant of the Alcohol Enforcement Unit. Everybody that you've heard from before me, they're nobody. The real meat and potatoes of the department is the Alcohol Enforcement Unit. I'm just kidding. A little bit background on myself. I was a member of the class of 387, so simple math. I start my 38th year on the department starting in March. So on your way out the door, if you look at the plaques on the outside on the class 387, front row all the way to the left, you'll see the very cherubic looking 21-year-old many bowls of ice cream ago. So a little bit about our unit. It was formed in 2004 in response to the number of motor vehicle fatalities, minors in possessions, and drunken, disorderly individuals that route officers would encounter. We deal with violations of bars, restaurants, package stores, which are generally considered Section 12 and Section 15 licenses. Section 12 licenses are for alcohol on premise, which are restaurants, bars, nightclubs. Section 15 are package stores. Those are off premise. That's alcohol purchased at the package store, bottled, sealed, packaged, and brought off premise. We have a network of other agencies that we work with. In my opinion, we have a very good and very strong relationship with the state ABCC, which is the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission. Some of our initiatives that we do, we get involved with undercover stings, where we have an individual who's underage. They volunteer to come in and assist us in doing package store stings. The individual is underage, they come in, we give them a breathalyzer, give them certain instructions, take any form of identification that they may have on their body, keep it in our office. They go out with one of our offices, they receive specific instructions to go into a package store, make a particular purchase, if they're able to make a purchase, make note of the individual who sold them the alcohol. They're instructed to not be confrontational at any time. If they go up to the counter and say they're attempting to purchase a 6-pack of Miller Lite, they go up to the counter, present the item in front of the clerk. If the clerk doesn't ask for any ID and makes a sale, the individual walks out with the item and reports back to the officer who's been transporting this individual throughout the city. If the clerk refuses to sell, they politely walk away from the counter and report back to the officer. The unit itself has been awarded citations from Mothers Against Drunk Driving and was awarded Nationwide Enforcement Unit of the Year. I don't recall what year that was, unfortunately, though. Our duties is to enforce state laws, ordinances pertaining to DUIs, Chapter 138, which covers all alcohol offenses, rules and regulations of the License Commission. Those are separate rules and regulations. We have separate rules and regulations for Section 12 licenses, which is the on-premise, Section 15, which is the off-premise. There's a different set of rules for each. They pretty much mirror one another, but there are certain idiosyncrasies of each one that have a little bit of a change. We work with the Section 12 and Section 15 establishments to try to curtail or stop the sale and possession of alcohol by minors. We work with bars, restaurants, package stores, offer educational courses to them, do compliance checks, stop in, see how the businesses are doing, see if they have any questions for us. We love when the businesses ask us questions. If they're asking us questions, that means that they have something cloudy. There's something that they're a little bit confused on. I'd rather have them approach us, ask us questions that they have, instead of needing to answer to those questions through the form of a violation before the License Commission. It's bad for their business, it's good for us, it's good for their compliance. Like I said, we're partnering with the ABCC on various initiatives. We meet up with them, we stop into bars, package stores, and do compliance checks at those establishments, looking primarily for underage individuals in possession of alcohol. Broke it down here again. Enforcement of the city alcohol-related ordinance and statutes, bring violations in front of the License Commission. If an establishment is caught in a violation, the violation is documented, a interdepartmental report is generated. That interdepartmental report gets forwarded to the License Commission. License Commission Administrative Secretary schedules a hearing, usually 2 weeks or so past the violation. The licensee holder is then brought before the License Commission and needs to answer to the alleged violations. As I said, our enforcement programs, compliance checks, cops in shops, shoulder taps, and compliance checks by doing bar checks. The shoulder taps, that's primarily with package stores, where I'll go into a package store. If we see somebody that looks underage, we have the right to demand identification from anybody in possession of alcohol. So if we see somebody who kind of young looking walking into a package store, we suspect that they're underage. If they're in the package store, tap them on the shoulder, ask them to present their ID before they even attempt to make the purchase. Each of the programs focuses on specific concerns related to the sale and consumption of alcohol. Our unit, we background check all new applications for a license, transfers of licenses, change of offices, directors of LLCs and corporations, and background checks on proposed managers. Besides the ABCC, we have just more recently, within the last 2 or 3 years or so, really developed a great partnership with the Worcester Fire Department and the Worcester Building and Code and inspectional services through their food programs. We'll go out intermittently as a team with members from my unit, Fire Department, Building and Code, inspectional services to do compliance checks. And it's really borne some really good fruit from not only establishing those alliances, but having every department within the city working together to address specific complaints or violations that arise. One of the big things that we've noticed by going out with building and code is, in the fire department, is the number of establishments that we're going into and finding their over occupancy. You know, I'm sure everybody is, I'm gonna get ahead of the slides here, I'm sure everybody is more than familiar with the Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island. 100 people were killed there. For the older people in the room, the next deadliest fire was the Coconut Grove fire. So when we find these establishments in violation of their occupancy, you have to remember, we're not doing it to be hard on you, we're doing it to protect your patrons. Under state law, that went into effect November 15, 2004, assembly uses such as restaurants, bars, banquet halls, and taverns, a sprinkler system is required if your occupancy is above 99. If your establishment is classified as a nightclub under the Massachusetts State Building Code, you are required to have a sprinkler system if your occupancy is above 49. So you can be a nightclub, not have sprinklers, but your occupancy, you have to shut it off at 49 people. If anybody has a question about if you walk into a restaurant, you see somebody underage late at night, somebody under 21 can be in to that establishment. They just have to, if you allow somebody in after midnight, the establishment has to have a plan on what they have designed to keep alcohol from getting into the possession of that person who's under 21. So if you were out at night and you brought somebody to a restaurant, pub style, you have a drink, person sitting next to you doesn't have a drink, they're under 21, you're over 21. That establishment needs to have a plan on file that would delineate how they are going to prevent the person that's in your company who's under 21 from being able to get possession of that alcohol. A lot of that has to do with what's called TIPS training, and the City of Worcester License Commission has an established regulation that anybody involved in the service of alcohol, that's bartenders, waiters, waitresses, they have to receive TIP certification. 30 days after their employment. They need to have the certification prior to their employment. They have 30 days to notify the License Commission that that person has received their certification. That certification, a copy of it, has to be kept on file at the establishment. So the manager of that establishment needs to have access to those certifications. Nightclub, really. If an underage drinking violation occurs and the approved ID plan is not followed, that's a violation. The License Commission would be notified of the violation. The licensee needs to report to the License Commission. And in light of that violation, the License Commission could, at their discretion, limit admission to 21 plus. Nobody under 21 allowed. Licensees who do not have the ability to adequately monitor the activities of minors, they voluntarily agree to limit their admission to people 21 and older. Licensed nightclubs will be required to provide security personnel during all hours of operation. We'll have to conduct background investigations with the security personnel. The licensee needs to do a Corey background check on anybody on their security team. They can't have a felony within the past 7 years. Any felony within a 7-year window, they can't be a security for that business. Anytime a new hiree gets added onto the security team, they have to notify the license. This is what I talked about with the TIPS training. TIPS is training for intervention procedures. Starting June 1st, 2011, every bar, nightclub, or dance hall, discotheque with an occupant load of 99 persons or more shall designate a crowd manager in accordance with the state fire prevention regulations. Crowd manager has to be on premise during all hours of operation of that business. Good for 3 years, and done by the state fire marshal. Basically, what the crowd manager list of chores is maintain clear paths of egress, show that the facility does not exceed its occupant load limit, initiate a fire alarm if necessary, and direct occupants to the exits, show the audible announcement made each program or performance notifying occupants of emergency exit locations, and complete the fire and building safety checklist daily before the facility opens. Unfortunately, we've run across this situation at a number of establishments where we've gone in during our compliance checks with the fire department, and we've specifically asked to see where the fire and building safety checklist is. And that list needs to be not only completed every day, but depending on the items on that list, like checking to make sure the exit signs are lit, making sure that the extinguishers are fully charged, all the stuff that's related to making sure that their patrons are safe. Unfortunately, a number of establishments that we've gone into, you have to see this checklist, and they don't have any. It's unfortunate because they're really putting people's lives in danger.
What happens at that point?
At that point, they can be brought in before the License Commission, but also the fire department can take out charges for not having.
Can they be shut down immediately? I mean, if it's a safety hazard, if they don't have it, can they be immediately forced?
Immediately, no, because we'll be on the scene there, and we can make those checks as we're there on the scene.
Age of servers.
Yes.
Age of servers.
Yep. 18 plus. Kind of a hot topic in the city. Oh, what did I just do? Bottle service. The License Commission had this under consideration, and based on a number of factors, they prohibit the sale of bottles. The only bottle service that's allowed in the city, wine, champagne, and beer in establishments. You can't go into a pub or nightclub and say, hey, listen, I want a bottle of Don Julio tequila. You can't have that whole bottle brought to the table. Unfortunately, we've seen incidences where prior to them prohibiting the bottle service, somebody would get a full bottle of liquor, and they would take the challenge and try to consume as much as that bottle as they possibly could. So it really comes into a question of being able to monitor your patrons for their sobriety. If you're not the one pouring that drink, you don't really know how much that individual has had to drink. We've seen incidences where somebody has bought the bottle of alcohol. Now, mind you, that bottle of alcohol, it's not going to be the $40 bottle of alcohol that you purchase at a package store. Nightclub rules, that bottle is now going to be 3 times more than what you would pay at a package store. You're shelling out an awful lot of money for that booze. Come the end of the night, if there's any booze left in that bottle, you really don't want to leave that establishment without what you've paid for. So we've seen people stuffing bottles into their significant others' purses. We've seen people stuffing bottles under their coats. We've seen people stuffing bottles down into their baggy pants, into their legs. So that's an issue. And worst case scenario, we've seen bottles used as weapons. So I think it was a good rule for the commission. Identifications. These are the only acceptable forms of identification. Massachusetts license, Massachusetts issued ID card, liquor ID card, military ID card, passport card. Law in Massachusetts is that retailers cannot reasonably rely on out-of-state driver's licenses to verify a customer's age. As such, licenses are relied upon at the retailer's peril. When a retailer accepts the out-of-state driver's license and the purchaser is in fact under 21, there are a few legal defenses available to the licensee where the identification provided later proves to be false, altered, or belonging to someone other than the purchaser. Sell alcohol in the Commonwealth and accept other than the IDs previously mentioned, you are afforded no protections. You're afforded more protections with a Massachusetts ID because we live in Massachusetts. We're more familiar with what a Massachusetts license looks like. We're more familiar with the security features of the Massachusetts license, like the holograms, watermarks, laser cutting, etc. Raised letters and numbers indicating your actual date of birth. So I don't think, some people may say we have a little bit of a fake ID problem. I don't know, what do you think?
That's just last year?
These have been confiscated by us, confiscated by dollar individuals, turned into us. And, you know, it really, the days of the old Massachusetts license where you could kind of fudge the laminate and make it appear that the date of birth is different, they've really gone high-tech. Every kind of security feature that Massachusetts would employ, or the other issues states would employ, the person who's working to circumvent that is the counterfeiter. And like I said, a lot of these, if you look at them, they're good. But if you look hard enough, you can see that they're different. Our best recommendation to any licensee holder, invest in an ID scanner. You know, like I said, every measure that the states are taking to make their identifications counterfeit proof, the next day, the counterfeiter is working on how to beat it.
Question on the ID scanners. I worked years ago where I was serving alcohol, but things have changed a lot since then. So if you have an ID scanner, does it actually check back to the central database and say, yes, this is a valid ID, or is it just reading a barcode that could
There are some applications that just rely on reading a barcode. They're not internet-based, so they're just relying on a barcode. Our best recommendation is to get an ID scanner that's an internet-based or that has constantly updated software. That's going to keep track of various databases that they use to verify identifications.
What do they pay for those?
They're expensive.
No, but the fake IDs.
Oh, the fake IDs? A couple $100. Yep. That's it. They look pretty good. Some of them may not be fraudulent. They may just be using an older brother or an older sister's. It's still a fraudulent identification. So if anybody in here has kids that are getting close to the 21-year-old age and they think that they may be in possession or leaning towards getting a fake ID, no one may make, possess, or sell fake IDs or use another's ID to buy alcoholic beverages. Selling alcohol is a serious responsibility. Alcohol is a legal drug that is available only to individuals 21. In 1984, it jumped from 20 to 21. Alcohol is a leading cause of death among young people if you sell alcohol to a minor or provide alcohol to a minor. You could share in causing undue deaths to others. If you sell or serve alcohol to minors, you could be held responsible for liabilities, death or damages from alcohol-related accidents. That's not only with licensed establishments, that's also comes under the social host law. If you sell or serve alcohol to a minor or a visibly intoxicated person, you could be arrested and convicted of a misdemeanor, depending on the facts and circumstances of the infraction. This is kind of crazy. Almost half of teens, 44%, do not see a great risk in drinking 5 or more drinks daily. The result of that, approximately 5,000 young people under the age of 21 die as a result of underage drinking. This includes about 1,900 deaths from motor vehicle crashes, 1,600 as a result of homicides, 300 from suicides. Everybody thinks alcohol, oh, let's go and have a good time. Alcohol is a depressant. Alcohol increases the risk of physical and sexual assault. Underage drinkers are more likely to carry out or be the victim of physical or sexual assault after drinking with their friends. The idea is, stick with your friends. They're going to be the ones that protect you. Minors, they believe that alcohol is easy to get. 70% say alcohol is readily accessible. 53% of current underage drinkers reported family or friends as their source of alcohol that they consume. Kind of shocking. What age do kids start drinking? 14. That's our boy McLovin. Young people who begin drinking before age 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence than those who begin drinking at age 21. Drinking is more harmful to the teens because their brains are still developing. During this critical growth period, can lead to lifelong damage to the brain function, particularly as it relates to memory, motor skills, and coordination. I said, in regards to all these fake IDs, minors purchasing alcohol, if anybody has children that are approaching the drinking age, this is to remember, any person under 21 years who purchases or attempts to purchase alcohol beverages or alcohol or makes arrangements with any person to purchase or in any way procures such beverage or who willfully misrepresents their age can be arrested. Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 34, the penalty for furnishing liquor to minors. Whoever furnishes any such beverage or alcohol for a person under 21 years of age shall be punished by a fine of not more than $2,000 or by imprisonment for not more than 1 year or both. Furnish means to knowingly or intentionally supply that individual with the alcohol. People under 21 years of age may not knowingly drive in a car with alcohol inside unless they are accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. So scenario, your child is 19 or 20 years old. They have a 21-year-old friend who says, hey, can you give me a ride to the package store? I want to go get a 6-pack of beer. Your son or daughter says, sure, I'll give you a ride down. Person of age goes into the package store, makes a purchase, comes back to your son or daughter's car. They get stopped for driving. Your son or daughter could be arrested for being a minor transporting alcohol, even though there is a 21-year-old person in the car. The rationale behind that is if anyone in the car is under 21, that alcohol is available to everybody in the car. So. You may end up with a criminal record, and this could adversely affect your future. Minors that are caught in possession of alcohol, they're offered a diversion program to the DA's office for possession of transportation offenses. If you're the person buying for that minor, there's no diversion for you. Social host laws is what I was talking about. You know, we're going to be coming up on graduation season, having parties back at your house. When it comes to underage drinking, the law is clear. If you are 21 years old, you may not. You are not 21 years old. You may not consume alcohol. If you are not, you may not. You may not serve alcohol to persons under 21 years of age or allow them to consume alcohol in your home or any premise under your control. don't think you're being the cool mom or dad or family member. You're contributing to their neglect. If you have a party, you may not provide, give, or allow any of your guests who are under 21 to possess alcohol. The only exception, children and grandchildren of the person in charge to possess alcoholic beverage on the premises or property owned and controlled by the person in charge. Even though the exception allows you to serve alcohol to your children and grandchildren, if an injury results, you're still liable. Best case, have them wait.
You get involved at all with, like with the mollies that are getting dropped in drinks?
That, we have some complaints about drink spiking. Normally, when we get those complaints, it's after the fact. The establishments that were indicated where something did happen, we've gone back and we've pulled the tapes, the security tapes of the place. Talked to the individual who was the victim of the spiking, found out where they were sitting, who they were sitting around, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to pinpoint anything in any of the circumstances like this. A lot of the times when we've received reports of these drink spikings or whatnot, in a further interview with the victim, we've come to find out that they didn't have much to eat that day, and they had a number of drinks before they headed out, and they were not only an alcoholic drink, but they were mixed with a high energy, high caffeine drink on an empty stomach, and a lot of that contributes to it. But when we do receive the report of potential drink spiking, we immediately go to the establishment, make it known to them that we have received an allegation of that, and had them pull their tapes, and we review the tapes.
So not something you're seeing a lot of?
No, not really. I mean, there was an incident, probably about a year or so ago, and it just took social media by storm. That there was this drink spiking, and somebody ended up dying because of it. And it was an urban legend.
I think Boston, Southie, has more. What some have told me in law enforcement was that some of the people do it, but they're probably still standing there somewhere still to watch. Doing it to watch them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have a daughter, and when she went away to college, I came across this thing, and I thought it was a great idea. It was a little scrunchie she was able to wear on her wrist, and it had a little pocket inside of it, and inside the pocket had a little neoprene lid. And I said, listen, I know you're gonna go out, because I'm up here, and you're down there, and you're gonna have the time of your life in college. I know, I'm not gonna be naive. I said, do me one favor. Do not take your eye off the drink. If you put your drink down for 1 second, don't pick it back up. If you take your eye off of it, do not pick it back up. If you have to put it down, put a coaster on top of it. Put a napkin on top of it. I got that little thing there, but it does happen. It's out there. The allegations have been brought to our attention. Like I said, the ones that were brought to our attention, we've notified the establishment and asked them to pull all the tapes from that night. We know who we're going to be looking for because we know who the victim is, and observing individuals around them. Some security systems, surveillance-wise, are better than others, but the instances that we have investigated, unfortunately, we haven't seen any. But I mean, it could be as simple as somebody dropping something from the palm of their hand that's the size of a grain of rice as they just pass their hand over a drink. It's really not gonna catch your eye. It's very discreet, surreptitious. I know social media, you see places advertising happy hour. Happy hour is not allowed in Massachusetts. Any place that has come across our desk as sponsoring a happy hour, we've gone to investigate it, and on the instances of happy hours that we've investigated, it's happy hours on appetizers, not drinks, not drinks. You can offer drink specials. Like if you wanted to sell Miller Lights for $1, you can do that, but that price has to be in effect all week long. It just can't be like a one-day special, like Super Bowl Sunday. Come on down, we're selling Miller Lights for $1, and then Monday they're back up to $5.50. You can't do that. Not only discounts, you can't offer free drinks. Drunken impaired drivers kill or injure a person every minute, 67 deaths and injuries each hour. Basic OUI statute in Massachusetts is Chapter 90, Section 24. It is unlawful for any person to operate or be in actual physical control of any vehicle within the state while under the influence of alcohol or under any drug. On a typical Friday or Saturday night, 1 out of 6 drivers leaving a bar is technically a DUI. This one kills me. The average OUI violator drives while intoxicated 80 times each year. That's once every 4 or 5 nights. Combine that with everybody that's on a phone, everybody that's paying attention to everything else all around them. Alcohol is involved in approximately 57% of all fatal crashes, 9% of reported injury crashes, and 5% of non-injury crashes. These alcohol-related crashes, injuries, and fatalities cost society at least $54 billion in lost productivity, medical costs, property damage, and other direct expenditures. Over $8 billion of these costs are for health care. Alcohol affects everybody differently depending on your genes. What if any medications you're on, how big of a meal you may have eaten. Food will slow down the absorption of alcohol. Alcohol, when it enters your system, it seeks out water. Where's the water? Where's the water in your body? Your brain, your liver, your muscles, your intestines, your stomach. The ultimate goal of our unit: stop the overservice to patrons, eliminate minors having access to being allowed to drink, increase DUI deterrence, decrease alcohol-related crashes, deaths and injuries, as well as any other alcohol-related incidents, like I pointed out earlier, assaults, sexual assaults. And that's all I've got. Well, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.